Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Editor-in-Chief of Total Retail. I am joined on this episode by Lori Conley, who is the General Merchandise Manager at Beholden. Lori and I are going to be discussing a little bit about the Beholden business and as well as the bridal space in which Beholden operates and sort of the trends and shifts we've seen in that industry over the last couple of years and the impact it's had on Beholden's business. So thank you for joining me today, Lori.
Thanks so much, Joe. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you. So to get us started, I would like for you, for those that aren't yet familiar with Beholden, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the brand.
Yeah, absolutely. So Beholden, which is spelled BHLDN, but said Beholden, is Anthropologie's wedding brand. And we've been around since 2011. And we like to think that we cater to brides in search of unusually beautiful things, from her wedding dress to her bridesmaids' dresses to everything else she needs to complete her outfit. We have stores nationwide, so 22 at this point from coast to coast, as well as our online store. And the interesting thing about Beholden is that we function very much like a ready-to-wear retailer in the space that's not traditional for weddings. Generally, you go into a boutique, you try on a dress, and you wait a few months for it to arrive. With Beholden, we actually carry stock at our distribution centers so that we have hundreds upon hundreds of options that we can ship out, within a few days' time for brides with immediate needs or those who have longer, time horizons.
Yeah, that's really interesting because when you think about the purchase of bridal gowns, most of the time you're thinking about the long purchase cycle where you go in and there's fittings and there's orderings. This is more kind of, I don't want to say off the rack, but it's a quicker process.
Yeah, she absolutely has that option, right? I think that's the beauty of our business model is that she can have the experience come into the stores, take her time if needed. But, we definitely saw, especially through COVID, with brides changing locations, changing dates, many times that required her to make decisions in a very, very brief time frame. So we were able to really help our customers out and be an option for her.
Yeah, that's a great point. And we're going to kind of get into some of those trends and some of the things and shifts in behavior that you've seen at Beholden over the last couple of years. But first, just for a little bit of further context for the audience, can you tell us a little bit about your professional background, your role at Beholden?
Sure. Yeah. So I always joke, I started my career in Americana. I started at Levi's, moved to Timberland, so very rugged, very durable product. And then I switched over to the world of bridal, which I've been in for well over a decade now. I most recently was the SVP at David's Bridal for merchandising, design, and product development before moving over to Beholden about 3 years ago. So I've been in this GMM role. I love it because really get to steer the entirety of the strategy and the business for the Beholden brand and really position it for growth within the marketplace.
Yeah, and I would imagine it's a fun category to be in as well.
Absolutely. Definitely beats denim. It's got so much personality, and it's you can't help but be just mystified by the fact that you're part of, probably the most iconic piece of clothing that a woman's going to wear in her life. So that is not lost on me or my team when we make those decisions.
Yep, exactly. It's such an important day in so many people's lives, and you're having a big impact on it. So I did want to adjust a little bit. You kind of alluded to it, Lori, in terms of the impact that the pandemic has had on the bridal industry. Obviously, any industry or events that brought people together were impacted, and that included weddings. So tell us a little bit of what you've seen at Beholden and really how the brand has been impacted.
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a journey, right? So we started COVID and completely unsure as to how and what was going to happen to the state of weddings. At the very early onset, we saw obviously people having to pause larger celebrations and but didn't want to have love wait, and went through with civil ceremonies and courthouse ceremonies. I mean, we saw people getting married on their front porch steps, a lot more outdoor weddings. And so it really changed so many aspects, everything from her shopping journey, where we generally see her coming to us, 15 to 12 months in advance of her event, we were seeing people the same week of their ceremonies coming to us for a white dress or a suit, which, that was another big thing that we saw a big shift in, was, shift out of gowns and into much more casual feeling, appropriate for the courthouse or wherever apparel. So it really changed what she was wearing, when she was buying it. We saw obviously almost the complete absence of bridal parties. So bridesmaids really weren't in the picture, and then our spend was down. So for, quite a bit of time, it was pretty bleak, I would say, in terms of anybody in the wedding space. But when it returned with vigor. I'm sure you've seen the stats that are out for this year, but they are saying this is going to be the largest year of weddings since 1984. So 2.5 billion anticipated in the US alone. And so, people are ready to celebrate. And so we're really excited to have her back and be able to help her through getting all of that up and running for her wedding.
Yeah, anecdotally, I was at Shop Talk recently, and the CEO of Signet Jewelers was talking, obviously another category related to bridal, and was talking about the year of 2022 being the year of the wedding, and aligns with your business at BHLDN as well.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about the shopper habits and how they might have shifted a little bit, sort of shrinking the purchase cycle a little bit. One of the things you've seen. Also curious, are there other trends? Did you see more purchases being made online as consumers became more digital in nature over the last couple of years, and maybe making purchases in categories that they previously wouldn't have thought about buying online, coming to digital to make those purchases?
Absolutely. We saw tremendous growth over our digital, in our digital business. And I think what I really, I give great credit to my team, because we were very reactive with taking our skill set in the field, which is, high touch, high emotion stylists that are able to navigate the conversation, guiding a bride to something she's never purchased before. These are gowns, you don't generally wear ball gowns on your normal day out, to the supermarket. And so
Right.
We had all of these really amazing stylists out in the field and didn't have a way to connect customers with them. So we quickly stood up virtual appointments, and just as many of us are doing today, used Zoom to connect with her and really guide her through the process. And in doing so, we were able to then convert her digitally into purchases, which, really was huge for us, because bridal is still primarily a high touch, high retail conversion business. So that was really interesting. And then ancillary categories that you don't expect to pick up. We saw even in our shoe business, the changeover to sneakers and flats. And, we sold a ton of white sunglasses because she was outside. And so we really had to think of every aspect of what she would be using for her wedding and translate that into this new casual, in the moment celebration.
Yeah, expanding the assortment based upon, as you noted, so many more weddings taking place in outdoor venues over the last couple of years. And that's interesting. The one thing I did have follow up there in terms of, Lori, is that kind of as you saw more digital activity coming to the BHLDN website, but some of those final purchases still taking place in your store locations. How are you able to kind of continue that conversation, continue that relationship, so it wasn't a complete stranger possibly walking in the door to one of your stores if they'd already been engaging with BHLDN online?
Sure. So that was actually something very early on we were cognizant of, because you do form these very intimate personal relationships with a stylist once she's, even if you're still in the editing process. And so when we assigned stylists to each of these individual virtual appointments, her follow-up appointment, if needed, was with that same stylist, so that she had that continuity, so that there was already that established relationship and knowledge base of what she was looking for.
Great. So as you noted, 2022 is forecast to be a banner year for the bridal industry.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. The demand is there. The kind of flip side of that coin is it does present some potential stressors for a business like yours in terms of preparing itself for that surge in demand.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing from a product perspective to be ready for this growth?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are investing in inventory like we haven't before. And so, our inventory is up nearly double digit to last year. It's up from pre-pandemic levels, just because we know that there is still shorter timeframes in which a lot of brides are working in. And so we have increased investments in key categories like gowns and bridesmaids to make sure that we can maximize this wedding boom that we're seeing. And the great part is because we own it in the DC, we can get it to her very, very quickly, as I mentioned before.
Yeah, shorten that supply chain. As you said, you own it in the DC, so that can speed up the process.
Yeah. And then additionally, like thinking to the future and just making sure that we've got ongoing flow opportunities. We've been positioning fabric and components on our key items just to make sure that even from a production cycle standpoint, we can get into things faster.
And that actually is a good lead into my follow-up here, Lori, in terms of design. And one of the things that I've known is that Beholden has brought its design in-house. Tell us a little bit about why that decision was made and then the potential impact it can have on the business.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is one of the things I'm most excited, most proud of that we just launched this year. So, we were launched over a decade ago as a brand with the mission to take on the undiscovered approach to bridal, right? That's exactly what you would think coming from anthropology. And to bring that to life in the most authentic way possible, we knew that we needed to own that vision internally, from the inspiration all the way to the creation of the product. And really creating that own magic that was our vision felt like the cherry on top of our beautiful house of curated brands. And so we brought in this incredible talent, Maria Coravillis, who actually has been featured herself from her own wedding and in the likes of Harper's Bazaar and WWD. And she has been an incredible visionary for helping us bring that unique and distinct conversation in weddings to life. And so we launched 13 dresses this past January. And really, I think from the way we brought it to market to our ability to have each piece be its own individual story. I mean, she went to vintage markets and found, antique tablecloths and cut them up and started laying them out, like truly an artisan. And to bring these to life in such a mass production environment was just incredible. So we're very excited about the success. We're excited about the response from not only the customer, but from the wedding industry itself, because it's something that you can't find anywhere else in this world. And it truly feels like the DNA of Beholden.
Yeah, so unique, as you noted. The first collection was a 13-piece collection to start. Did you say, Lori?
That's right. And then we'll be following up this summer with some newness, we do gowns as well as reception looks. As we know, so many brides right now are shopping for the full wedding wardrobe and not just the dress.
And you have the expertise of your in-house design team led by Maria, but how does kind of the customer and the feedback you're collecting from them influence the designs that you're bringing to market?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely take all of the feedback, and we get so much of that just from the field level, what our stylists are telling me about the customers when they're trying on the dresses, everything from how they fit, how they feel. This year has been really exciting for us because not only do we do in-house design, but we're also leveraging technology in a much bigger way. So talking about getting customer feedback, we've been doing 3D design and modeling. And we recently just started crowdsourcing some of our bridesmaids designs with our customers through social media to get immediate feedback to cut down the time frame for production as well as concept. And so we've been able to shorten our time frame getting product to customers as she's voting for it, in a much quicker time frame than we have in the past.
Yeah, it's a great example of the way you're using technology to kind of meet the immediacy needs of your customers. So thanks for sharing that. One of the ways that, in addition to its in-house design team, that Beholden has tried to really differentiate itself and grow the business in the market is through partnerships and, through, up and coming brands, one example being Alton Lane. Tell us a little bit about the company's approach there in terms of these brand partnerships and how they can fit into your future strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Beholden, it's so important for us when I think about who we want to be for the customer. It's not just somebody in the commerce space for bridal, but it's really truly being her trusted companion, her best friend, to give her advice not on only what to wear, but how to curate her special event. So for us, it obviously starts with our in-house curated product, but the extension of that is who we align ourselves with in the marketplace. within parallel spaces within the wedding journey. The typical engagement length is 15 months. And so when you think about how many vendors and product categories that she's engaging with in that 15-month time span, there's a lot of influence that we ourselves and our partners can have in terms of having her create her vision and bring it to life. So, somebody like an Alton Lane, we were very excited to bring a suiting and tuxedo partner into the fold, obviously very important from an apparel standpoint, but finding the right partner was critical, right? So somebody that had the right caliber of product, the same attention to detail and best-in-class customer support and approach that we have, which Alton Lane was the perfect match for us for that.
I would imagine expanding your assortment, so making it not only more convenient for the bride, but also potentially bridesmaids and others in the kind of bridal party to be able to get their product from Beholden as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make it easy for everybody. We know there's so many members of the wedding. Wedding parties are getting larger. The total size of guests may be shrinking, but those who are really in the intimate circle, there's a lot of opportunity to outfit her, to make sure that they've got everything they need for not just the day, but the wedding events surrounding it as well.
And then finally, Lori, I'm interested in your take and some of the trends that you're forecasting for the bridal space throughout the rest of the year, and then maybe you can correlate to that what it means towards the merchandising strategy at Beholden.
Yeah, so I think it's so interesting coming out of COVID and a pandemic where everybody, I know myself, I've been cooped up wearing sweatpants and feeling really, cocooning and feeling casual and comfortable. And I think now that life is reemerging, or as close to normal as we used to have it, we've seen our customers really break out with what she's looking for. She's in that celebratory mindset. She wants something that's bold. She wants something that has a statement, and you should sort of shedding that comfortable layer. And so in recent months, and I think the newer collections are really hearkening to this, but we've seen a push for sleek and bold, more sensual styling. And I think she's really looking to flaunt her figure, to be out there in a bolder way. And so things like cutouts and high leg slits and sheer layers. I mean, if you just watched the Grammys recently, lots of that happening on the red carpet too. But she's, showing skin is definitely in right now. That's a big trend. And then I think weddings obviously always live in that romantic space. And so I think you see all of the relationship and the influence of things like Bridgerton and some of these other historical pieces that live in this, sort of Victorian era, also having an impact in the bridal space. So definitely seeing things like umpire necklines, puff sleeves, leg of mutton sleeves, even also having a really big moment. So really interesting juxtaposition that we see happen within the business, but it really goes back to the fact that brides themselves are so unique and independent. And so for us, it's really important to be able to service a broad range of customer style.
Yeah, that diversity in product selection that you offer at Anthropologie, while also remaining, unique in the designs that you're on Anthropologie, Beholden, I should say, and remaining unique in the designs that you're offering your customers is a great, differentiator for the brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Very important to us.
Great. Well, I want to take the opportunity to thank Lori Conley, the General Merchandise Manager at Beholden, for joining us on today's episode of Total Retail Talks. Thank you, Lori.
Thanks, Joe. This has been so much fun. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.